7:31, so I'll call us to order. As long as everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? Awesome. All right. There we go. Number one's done. On to number two. Roll call. Laura.
Yes. London.
London. Denise.
Yes, in Royal Oak. Hey, Jason, I can't hear you guys.
No worries. I'll stand together. I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
I move.
So moved.
Who moved that? Jody? Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Denise.
Yes. Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Yes.
Moved. So moved. Moving on. Public comment. From the public.
I'm going to ask you a public comment because I think I messed something up. I should have asked you. I would like to, and I know it's supposed to be a comment, but I would like to ask that perhaps would consider discussing the Sight and Sounds concert farmers markets.
Well, it seems like part of our 7A discussion of our program.
Or C is.
So it'll be part of our
Something completely new that
It's super hard to hear, right, Denise? Yeah, it's super hard. You're cutting in and out. I think I heard sight and sound. Yep. Sorry.
No worries. So we're going to add that to our agenda to talk about a program at the library, or as the library farmers market or something involved. And then Pat has another new idea she'd like to add to the agenda.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So, so you guys have approved the agenda.
We weren't thinking.
Right. It can be. If you
do we amend the agenda?
Motion to reconsider. Thank you, Mayor. Can we get a motion to reconsider? Second?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
All right, we're reconsidering our agenda with Pat's new edition of what? What's the new edition, Pat?
We got to vote on the reconsideration.
We have to vote on reconsideration.
Okay.
I'm a parliamentarian. I love it. Actually. That's awesome. I get away with nothing.
Laura, we're going to reconsider our agenda. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we've reconsidered our agenda. Now we're going to start again.
Okay, so now we need a motion to add it to the agenda.
Yes. What I wanted to add was the city of Detroit, through the WROK Conservancy, is doing an artist survey to see if they can identify all the artists in their community, so that when grant opportunities arise, when they hear about certain levels of funding, they know who to contact in their artist networks about various art funding possibilities. So my thought was, with the grant money that the city is receiving from the federal government that we have to spend over the next period of years, it might not be a good idea if perhaps we could undertake an artist survey of our own here in the community.
So, did you want to add that in Carol's thing to the agenda of this motion?
Yes.
Beautiful. So,
two new things under new business.
Two new things under new business. Two new things under new business. Is there support for said motion? Alicia supported that. Laura, are you in agreement with that agenda?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. So we have a new agenda. It is how approved? Is it? We just approve it?
Yes. Yes.
We just approved it, it modified.
Okay, you.
I tried to approve a motion to reconsider. Oh, you got it? I think I got it.
Just tell me where I am on this agenda.
You should be the next item.
Okay, public comments. Do we have any public comments? Yes, sir.
If I may go with what I'm speaking. For a long time, I used to really enjoy brunch with Bach at the DIA through lots of people. And I had this idea of the library having a baby grand near the front entrance. And of course, the library steps don't exist anymore. Now, I was thinking of having it rolled out. We have so many talented people in the world, especially musicians, that I'm sure would be happy to volunteer to play. But due to this weather, where you cannot predict anything anymore, we have no idea how if this weather will put a kibosh on the Art Speaks and Eats or anything else. I hope it, or any other events, I hope not. But one thing we can be assured of, an indoor concert can make money. And I was thinking of the farmer's market. For a long time, I was thinking of putting tables in the farmer's market, serving wine, cheese, croissants, maybe small sandwiches, charging about $40. You know, the women, I think Birmingham had something like this. 1/3 of it can go towards the musicians. Let's say we have some musicians from Royal Oak High School in a quartet, violin, bass, you know, something along that line of similar, again, to brunch with Bach, not a full orchestra, and charging, again, about $40 a plate. And that would include a piece of cheesecake or a croissant, you know, or a continental, you know, plate. And if they want more, they can order more wine or this or that, and they have to pay for it. So I'm also thinking I would love to see a baby grand inside the flea market. I really love baby grand pianos. The sound is so beautiful, and I think it would give quite a lot of class to our city to have one inside the farmers market. It can also be played while the farmers market is in operation. Now, ideally, the brunch would be on a Sunday. Now, you can't do this every Sunday, so therefore maybe only once a month, or maybe once every other month. But I would prefer once a month. And that's my idea. So that's why I came here. I'm for music. And you have studio people, I'm sure you know. But as I said, 1/3 can go towards a charitable organization in Royal Oak, or such as the animal shelter. 1/3 can go to the city, and 1/3 can go to the farmers market. And I think at $40 a seat, which would be safely separated, and people would be required to come in with masks, but they can remove them. You know, ask them to please put them back on when they're through eating. And you'd have a wonderful, wonderful venue that would attract tons of people to our downtown.
Thank you so much for those comments. Appreciate that. Moving to the other public comment. Okay, we'll move us to number 5, approval of minutes from June. Approval of minutes from June. Laura?
Yes.
Hold on one second. I need a motion.
I'll so move the minutes of the June meeting.
Beautiful. Support by Jody. Laura?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Alicia? So moved. All right. Financial update.
Okay, so the financial update is we started a new fiscal year, and what it looks like you guys have allocated in the budget is $20,000 from the general fund and some additional funds through the DDA. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what exact strings and how the DDA part of it works. Obviously, it has to be spent downtown, but I wasn't sure if they had other qualifying restrictions on how those funds are used. Yeah, so still working on that, but your total budget appears to be about $70,000. So, yeah.
Love it. Number 7, new business, discussion of CFA programs and goals.
Okay, so I think last time we had talked about just kind of wanting to touch base on the programs that you guys do offer, have historically offered, and kind of thinking about who's helping with which different projects. I think last time I had asked a question about the Art Explored program, and so it sounded like there was a subcommittee, but no one was really sure who was on that subcommittee anymore. Since we've all taken a break during COVID, I think it might be good to kind of just chat through some of those different programs and identify, again, who's sort of committed to those local areas. So I think if we want to start with Art Explorer, that's probably a good place.
Okay, so who was on the Art Explored committee?
I think it was Denise.
Were we? Was it on?
Wasn't on it last. Okay. So maybe it was.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Laura, Jody, and me, and then Alicia kind of pulled in, I think. I don't know. Oh, you probably weren't on the, maybe it wasn't Alicia.
It wouldn't be 4 people because we can't have 4 people on.
Okay, then it was us 3, pre-Alicia. Yep.
Okay. Are any of you interested in continuing, or is somebody looking to change? And Laura might be interested, or Alicia might be interested in coming on.
All right,
Does that make help?
Maybe we go through and we figure out what everybody used to do. We talk about the things we do or we want to do, and then we meet. Right, so Art Explored.
Our big things are Art Explored, sharing the warmth of the downtown concert series.
I'd love to actually, before we even get into what we used to do, I'd like to understand what the city staff thinks we used to do, so that we at least know what we have in institutional memory.
Okay. So as I understand it, the Art Explored program is the program in which it sounds like annually art is reviewed, licensed, and installed by artists with approval on the basis of a 1-year license. So they get that license, we pay them a chunk of money, then in theory they install it, they take it out. And the idea, and then we kind of can help advertise. There's little signs that get posted around that explains the art and the artist. And that's kind of the logistics of how it works. What I don't have is anything on kind of, is this program successful for you? Do you want to continue it? What does success of this program look like for you? And from my perspective of doing program management, the evaluation piece is really important because that's where you can kind of help build and bring in funding and different things like that. And there are things out there for art. So not out of the realm of possibility that we could see that, but we kind of need to have some of those support pieces. And that's also what I would be looking to as I kind of was reviewing your annual reports, those are the kinds of things that I would be looking to put into your annual reports. Is how did you guys know this program was successful for you? Is it just that we put up so many art pieces and took down? Is it that we got great feedback? Is that, you know, we want to help? Because when I was reading the license, there is a clause if they sell a piece, they can do that. And, you know, are we wanting them to sell it? Is that a part of our goal? So how do you guys know when it's successful?
I think there's another aspect to this as well, because some of the pieces are not licensed, they were donated. Yeah. And they're in our permanent collection of city's stuff. And I think when James was still here, we had talked to him about doing an inventory of what we have, because it doesn't seem like there is an up-to-date inventory of what we have. Yeah. So it seems to me those tasks kind of have to go together. Yeah. Because I think we need to figure out, you know, what is licensed and what is going to go away after a year, or maybe 2 years because COVID just kind of disappeared, and how much we've got in our permanent collection and where is it and what condition is it in. Yeah. Because didn't we have to remove something that was affixed to a building that was just recently, within the last couple of months, weather damaged, and somebody had to take it out?
Even shades had come down.
Even shades, yeah, because it was damaged.
And then all of the street banners.
Yes. So I see your permanent collection and your art explored as two separate programs.
Okay.
And that's typically what I would see in a city that has a large arts program. And part of that is there's different funding for the two issues. So permanent art, you know, as I kind of had talked about in the last meeting, you either need to figure out how you're going to fund it to maintain it, or have it. We all have to have the understanding that you're performing no maintenance, and when it's done, it's done. And everyone has to kind of be okay with that. But I know there's different pieces to that, you know, and where does that funding come from? Because I know Star Dream, for example, it gets cleaned annually. Somebody's paying for that.
Yeah, that comes out of the city budget.
Yeah, so there's different places where we can kind of think about that. So I agree with you. I see those as two separate programs. And this is Peter, by the way. If everyone didn't get a chance to meet Peter, he is one of the management fellows that we have in the city manager's office. And he is working on that inventory piece, because I noticed that was missing. And I was really kind of curious, like, what is exactly ours? So he's been sifting through. He's actually going to talk about the art explored inventory that they have completed. And so we're going to take that inventory, turn it into a map that is going to be available on the website, and we can have it on print that people can see what different art is around. And that map will continue to evolve as the art changes out. My goal and my hope is at the end, when we have a good assessment of our permanent inventory as well, that we can have a large map and a large kind of almost a booklet that really kind of walks through all the different pieces around town and in our collection. And that is always, I think it's a great handout for folks to kind of understand. It's a great way to help kind of bring that art a little closer to home for folks.
Cool. So, by the way, that was the next agenda item. It was a presentation of arts. So we'll get to that. Let's keep listing who was on what. So sharing the warmth. I know it was Denise. Who else was on sharing the warmth?
I was too, right? Although Denise did everything, yes.
Share of that?
Well, that was sort of fun.
Jody got it going the first year.
So there's the piano project.
Piano project. James.
Yes.
And Melissa.
And my pictures of the pianos across my memories.
They're still in storage. They haven't
know
been given away.
The one outside the farmer's market's wide open. No.
Did you say the piano project is you, Jason, Alyssa, and Melissa?
Alyssa.
Okay.
Social media early on.
Yes, so what about, so in the files, I could see you had the art celebration or art celebration. Celebrate arts. What's this? Art of this.
Is a collaboration.
Me are on the committee.
I don't mean to laugh so loudly about it. This year was
It hasn't happened in 2 years.
Okay, and we did it 3 years in a row.
Okay.
And there was musical performances by lots of students, also artists, and then we have student art inside the building. Some of the art groups, like the senior artists, display art like along the hallways inside of the. So like some of the concerts were like outside the normal.
The funding primarily came from the city and stuff, not on us, but the school district, and then volunteer businesses around the city helped fund much. We were talking at one point in time about trying to merge with the homecoming event that was started to happen, and then COVID.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of.
That was a group of artists trying to get people from the community to all get together for one day of the year.
Okay.
So that not everybody's fighting for each other all the time, or for their own roles, but everybody's working together.
Okay.
That was the attempt at that. I say attempt.
It's relatively successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And worse.
I also saw one about outreach and engagement in the community.
We ever did that as a subcommittee.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I think that's a general approach for everyone.
Okay. Any others?
Artist laureate?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's pretty sort
No, because we identified that person. It was a collective
yeah.
decision as to who the laureate was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
And they were the ones who created the mural.
You haven't stepped over the stage.
It's gorgeous. It's that space.
Any other programs?
Feels like just that current hashtag makes on
Okay.
you know, we want that. Now that could be under engagement. Yeah, I would say so for that. So then in that case, it's elation.
All right.
Okay.
So what do you guys think about these programs? Is this too much, not enough?
What about the public sculpture park idea that was down at 696? That just popped into my head.
Yep.
That we had just started talking about that when COVID hit. And who was the person who was not a commission member, but
It was Rick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who was in contact with artists and
right.
That didn't get very far off the ground.
No, that was like the end of 19, beginning of 20 that we started talking about that. I'm pretty sure in here.
Don't forget, we have to get us out of town. So
Yeah.
we're not going to talk loud.
Oh,
no worries. If you don't see the box around us when we're talking, they can't hear us.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Keep that in mind. Sorry about that. All right, so we have a list of things that we all used to do. But the world has been exploded, and now we have new staff, we have a new building, and we have a new downtown park. So what do we do now?
So we
don't have a market for it.
We probably could use one. So the other thing I kind of included in the packet for you guys was your the goals that you had listed in 2019 as sort of your future goals. And then of course COVID hit and the world kind of stopped and blinked for a while. So you guys have some really interesting things in here. And I think if you guys wanted to kind of pick up a few of these, there's probably a few in here that are really doable this year. Because you guys report through this reporting cycle is an annual report, like year 2021, but your budget year isn't that way. So there are some things I think we could kind of pick up and do in here. So you guys had in here as your 5 major goals. One was increasing the value of arts and culture. The next was increasing the collaboration amongst various and regional organizations. Generating awareness of art and culture in the city of Royal Oak. Increasing diversity and culture, and becoming a sustainable commission. Those were kind of your 4 or 5 goals that you guys had listed. And you guys had a couple steps for each goal of kind of some things you wanted to work towards. But I wasn't sure how you guys are feeling about the programs you have. And everybody's burnt out too, right? So let's all kind of recognize that factor in here too. So I wasn't sure how you guys were kind of feeling and what you felt like was sustainable at this point.
All right, so we had done strategic planning in 2019 with those items, those 5 goals with some categories of each of them. I believe everybody here was here then. We can either assume that that stuff is still goals of ours, or we can throw it all out. We can keep all of these programs or throw them all out and start from scratch. But each and every one of these items needs to have a champion, or else it won't get done. Somebody to hound the city staff to help us get it. Otherwise, they'll just be like, oh, we did some fun stuff. Here's a hashtag. What do we want to keep doing? Start with Art Explorer. Do we like that one?
Yeah.
Everybody likes that one?
Yeah.
So far, we see it as successful?
Yes.
In what ways? What are our success measures? How do we see it as successful?
We're supporting local artists, we're beautifying the city.
Yeah, and the art's evident, so you get around town.
Yeah.
Some of those words might be words.
I'm not sure what anybody said, but like the quality of applicants.
You guys hear me? I think another way to measure the success of it is we've started to move it from outdoors to indoors as well. I mean, we've got the mural. And so, starting to either suggest or require that public buildings or that new projects in the city have some component, artistic component.
There's lots of blank interior walls, like in this building, that could use some art of some kind.
Which could lead to a new initiative as well, but maybe, smaller pieces.
Mm-hmm. Smaller pieces, different art mediums. Exactly. Yep. Those can be pieces that add to your permanent collection or temporary, right?
Another measure of success from my perspective is just the comments we get in the street, right? Like, would you all agree? We get comments, oh, I'm on the commission for the arts. Oh, I love the blah, right? Like, there's a lot of that, that specific. All right, so we like Art Explorer. Who's the chair of the Art Explorer committee?
It may have been me last. I don't remember. We were kind of bouncing around a little bit.
You want to be that?
Because Share the Warmth kind of was the outshoot of public art, right?
current chair, or do we just want that to be a subcommittee?
Other members of the committee. Do we want to?
I'll say it.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
right there.
Do we want that to be a subcommittee, public art, with Sharing the Warmth, the Art Explored program, at the very least, both of those as part of that subcommittee? Does that sound like the right way to go for you guys?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Yeah. I mean, it worked, unless anybody has an idea that they want to split it.
I keep saying this, and I'll say it again. Key components
Jason, we're not hearing you for some reason.
I'm just not talking loud enough. So a key component of that working would be a city staff. It sounds like I'm angry. A city staffer being the liaison to get us organized. So that subcommittee has something to do with reaching out either via email or whatever. That's still the case. That's still with.
So I think what is going to happen as far as staff assistance with that, we definitely need to have some level of staff involvement there. We're the ones who are going to process all your licenses and everything like that, help coordinate advertising. Most likely on an ongoing basis, it will be the fellow or myself that will be helping with that. And probably for the most part, it will be a fellow that is really handling the day-to-day of it.
How long do they have a fellow?
So we have fellows on an annual basis. So Peter is our fellow for this year into the middle of next summer. And then we'll have a different fellow.
Gotcha. So every time that happens, you'll have to, or us.
Yep. If there's a gap, I'll fill in. If there's anything that I'll take care of onboarding the next one and getting them caught up and everything.
Gotcha. And then said fellow who's assigned to us is in communication with us, emailing us, and handling the sort of, hey, we got this email about this thing we got to deal with.
Yep. They will help process applications for art as well as the approved arts and licenses and relicensing.
Gotcha. So we're okay with that as a subcommittee with those two projects so far, with city liaison staff helping us, right? Do we need to vote? I don't know.
No, I don't. And I think it makes sense to keep it that way because it's pretty much self-sustaining at this point, except for the writing the contracts and doing that kind of stuff that the programs themselves maintain.
Yeah, I think we probably will need assistance from time to time from our commissioners in finding locations for art, thinking about those spaces. That's something that the more people kind of weigh in, we all go about different places and see different spaces in our everyday routine. And so I find places that's really convenient for me. And I tangentially, I do photography art. So I find spaces that are 16 by 20 very easily, but I don't find sculpture art spaces very easily. So we all see and feel different things. So I think that location piece is going to be really important as we move forward and having this stuff.
And what about the idea of, in conjunction with that, developing whether it's an email handout or a little handout where if we go someplace and we see that kind of space, we can say, hey, could we, if anybody's interested, email, we're going to keep a database, we're going to keep a listing of places that are interested in hosting art. And if we have a piece that fits your space.
Yeah, so that's part of the inventory management. So this piece is going to be very heavy on inventory management. And it's going to be great for fellows because they're going to come out with really strong program management skills. And that's one of my skill sets. So it's one that I'm really excited to teach as well. And it's going to be heavy inventory, especially as we expand and convert spaces between permanent art as well as temporary art. So those two pieces are going to kind of flex together a little bit over time.
So looking at our other list of things, there's a sculpture park, which is another public art function. Should that be in that same category?
I think as a sub, yeah. And especially since we've got a group of artists, an artist collective who are working on that through us, I mean, it's not like it's going to be maybe as heavy a lift as when you guys started Art Explored or the 11-mile project. This should be something that we can help them coordinate and show them, you know,
right.
the steps.
Right, so those three things are now under that public art.
Yes.
Go ahead.
How are you guys feeling about the permanent collection piece? Because that's something it sounds like you guys have not had a subcommittee for. And it's probably wise to have one because what's gonna happen in the way this would work logically is there are two ways something could end up in the permanent collection. One is that it goes through Art Explored and the artist is interested in donating it. The other is going to be someone either is interested in donating or perhaps we somehow acquire art. And it's probably wise to have, especially as we start off, there's some policy pieces that we may need to put together and bring some thought around. So at least initially, I'm thinking we do want to have some sort of group that can do some work and some looking at what other communities have and thinking about that permanent collection piece.
I know who I'm looking at. The person who knows how to curate, I would say, because that's what it sounds like to me as a curation.
Yeah, and I could be on that.
Anyone else interested in being on the permanent art collections subcommittee?
Should something like that, you guys who've been around town a lot, with the historical society, if you want to be a part of that, or like something we should have some outside people on?
I'm those decades of the historic groups, and I'm happy to present that to them. Historic District Study Committee meets this Thursday, and I could talk to them about that. We're also becoming a certified local government. We're in the process of doing that. And that brings us opportunities for grants and things of that nature too, and to add programs and training, like, you know, like a tour, like a bike tour of where our historic homes and where historic, maybe we have some historic pieces of art when we start inventorying that we would add to that.
And that would be a great place to bring in the community because they could start offering them. I think this is an historic piece.
And the art of architecture as well becomes part of some of the homes of Royal Oak are,
And photographs.
Photographs, we have tons of photographs. And we are in the process, being a member of the Historic District Study Committee, who is, I love him, inventorying every single home. Yeah, he's
awesome. So if we had a subcommittee for a permanent collection, we could have an individual from this group as the chair of that subcommittee, but invite some outside folks to be a part of it. But is that, I only asked the comment to see if that was a good idea. Do you think that's a great idea to organize it that way? And then does it take anybody else?
I think initially it might be good to see what bridges are out there, right? Because that helps us kind of figure out what other groups may need to weigh in. Permanent collections, my gut is we actually probably need somebody from DPI because the reality is that maintenance has to come from somewhere. Somebody has to coordinate it. And we're going to have to figure out where that budget is coming from and what our budget needs realistically are and could be. Some of these art pieces coming from a city who does a lot of public art, some of these pieces get very expensive. Some of them are very expensive to maintain, let alone deal with any vandalism or anything like that. So it really can, it's something to consider. For sure.
So, I mean, we're opening up a huge can of worms, but this is great because this as a subcommittee is significant because there's going to be people that want to donate things just because they know this subcommittee exists and we have the ability to accept something. places to store it, all of those kinds of things come into play, right? So space, all of that. So, or places to put it up. Hey, we have these walls. Does anybody want to donate something to these walls? I don't know. If you put that on Facebook today, but somebody might donate. So, I got this gigantic picture.
And probably part of one of the first steps that really needs to happen is coming up with policies. But what do you want to be in the permanent collection? Because everything you might not want, and we're not obligated.
Sorry.
So as a person that makes like offerings of donated equipment and things all the time, like just today, if we wanted to put organs on the street, I could have accepted 2 organs just today on the street before I left. So
would you like some guitars, Jason?
I got rid of 40 guitars in June.
Oh no, you are
so I got rid of all the this one seems a little bigger than us, per se, it's just us. But Pat, I'm not offering you up to this subcommittee, but as the city commission representative, I think something like this, a permanent collection like this, it would be great if the city commission liaison to this group was.
Yeah, I think that makes, the more we talk about it, the more I think that makes sense. If you want to involve people like the historic people, you're going to have staff people like EPS getting involved. Just for the maintenance aspect, I think it makes sense.
Even just from the knowledge in taking that back to the other commissioners and making sure there's support for the initiative.
I think more just about, well, maybe not more than any other one of these topics, that we're going to run into some budget issues, some funding issues. And does it come out of just the Commission for the Arts budget, or is it funded separately, like the cleaning of the Stardom sculpture biannually, which is expensive as heck because it's bronze? You know, that's just a city expense that we cover. So does the city cover some of those costs? Those kinds of issues.
Yeah.
And how do those two things relate, right? You can let us keep buying art all day long.
Yeah.
But
if we can't maintain it, then, you know.
Right. And even if we're not displaying it, we've got to store it. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
All this sounded good to you guys?
Yeah. So I do have one more question about the permanent collection. I kind of think the step down of that is the proposed virtual collection. What we have had, but we maybe no longer are displaying because it's either in our collection or we've given it back. And that was definitely that project. Which is what she was talking about. So seems multi-layered.
yeah. I think that would be amazing.
I think so too. I think that helps with fundraising, with grants and stuff to show that we have a broad portfolio.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have public art sort of wrapped up somewhat.
Yes.
I'm going to skip down my list to the artist laureate. Do we want to keep the artist laureate discussion in this group?
I think so.
In the future? So, and then we need to outline, when are we doing that? Because we had to sort of pause it last year and all that. So
that'd be a big thing for us this fall coming out. So we have a way to spend some of our budget, be something new / old to focus on, because we've launched that already. I mean, I just looking at in fact that we can't do very much outside starting September 15th. Well, I'm also wondering if we can potentially evolve it. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what the guidelines were. Do we have to put out a proposal for the artists, or could we reach out to Rick Dion and his friends and have the artist laureates working on the public sculpture part as I mean, that's something they could do regardless of what, kind of a lockdown we might go into or whatever, because they would be working in an open space and individually.
Let's dig into that.
That's my, so that's
and bring that back to sort of like recap what we did last time to kind of advertise it. Were there any guidelines and parameters that we could find, and kind of dig into that a little bit more?
So there was an application.
That's how I found you guys.
There was a process to it. I remember seeing that, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
And we identified the artists so quickly that I don't know that we necessarily took, 5 different applications, compared them with the guidelines, and actually sat down and said, yeah, this one was like, oh, gosh, and her friend.
Yeah, we had it narrowed down because I seem to remember there were 10 proposals, but they were all relatively limited as opposed to theirs, which was expansive and for public display in perpetuity.
Right.
So I think it was pretty evident. But I guess my question is, because we just started the program and we did it the one time, are we locked into it? Or once we do some more research, maybe it evolves into something where we go, somebody brought us this great idea. We can't really afford to do the whole thing, but we could probably get some energy moving. So maybe there are different ways that we find our artist glory. It's not always a proposal. Maybe sometimes it is they come to us with a concept and we think is grand enough that we want to give them that 18 months or 2 years or whatever to develop it and make it. So I don't know.
Okay. So we'll bring that back as a discussion.
Yeah, let us go back and review what we did before, because I think I have a bunch of notes. And one thing that I remember is that one key component was that whatever they produced, whether it was a piece of art like the mural, or whether it was a musical program or some kind of public activity, there had to be a public component. They had to be open to the public so the public could participate in it, either by listening to it or by watching it, or by, if it was a kids art program, participating in it, a big program for kids to do whatever. So the involvement of the public was a huge component of it, but that's all I remember.
Yeah, I had to benefit the community.
Yeah, community benefit components, that was it.
So maybe next month we'll revisit what we did before and figure out the parameters.
So you guys can take a look at your notes. We'll sift through and see what we come up with for backup materials and put that in the agenda.
Beautiful. Look at that, we're making progress. Love it. Celebration of the arts. Melissa, thoughts?
Are we going to school? Yeah, I can't wait. We really didn't do anything because we haven't at school. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if we are organized and want to do it, I want to be honest and tell you, I don't want to ask one person to give us anything for free in town right now. I'm not comfortable knocking on anybody's door. And I did a lot of fundraising for us. There should be a decent budget already with the school from before. We should have at least $1,500, if not $2,500, more than we had when I showed up to help with it.
That's in the school's account.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like what has happened historically is it's been like the two of us and the head of the music department at the middle school, working the three of us together to make it happen. And Keith is getting really close to retiring. Mm-hmm. So
he may have one more year. Alicia may know better about it. He may have him for one more year.
Let me put it in this way, I know that he paid for his property in Atlanta.
Well,
and I'm not talking imagination. So, so more of my story is I'm happy to help with it however I can. If we have somebody from the school that would backfill with Keith or not, and you and I together, however that works.
Definitely something that needs to be revisited once like close in session and to see who's, have a meeting, see who actually
loves up. And Joyce Coyne retired this year. Yeah. A few of our big advocates to help us at the program.
Retired too. Right. Her volunteer work.
I noticed that when I saw her.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys need to have conversation and see if we can recruit for feasibility. Yeah. Right. So that's kind of what I'm hearing is this may or may not be feasible in the future.
Yeah, and I think it started out, it was a school initiative, and we sort of stepped in to support it and promote it, and then they sort of backed off. So it kind of came on our shoulders.
There was also city administration and school district administration battling each other amongst, with us not us, but a couple of us at a meeting, and we getting a little upset at that meeting. So that's previous people that used to work here that are not here anymore, so it's a whole other world. Hopefully all of that is gone. But it's our intent in my intent at least, to get all of us in time working together. So, so
it could be an issue for you to discuss at a city school liaison meeting. There's a city school liaison committee. They're meeting this week, unfortunately, but perhaps Susan could attend and start the conversation.
Maybe we can do chat and we'll figure it out maybe in a future meeting.
Yeah, because they only meet quarterly, so they'll meet in April, and then they'll meet again in, what's it? So like, I mean, they're meeting in July, so they're gonna meet in October. So maybe that's the time.
Yeah. Then we can actually,
There you go.
Let me say this out loud, but if we're going to have a brand new big park right there, do we care if it's at the middle school anymore? And if so, then,
Are we doing
then again, I'm not being rude about the middle school property or anything like that, but if we have access to that space there, and there's a stage there, and there's some area on the grass there, and that's a centralized focal point in our city that isn't as exclusionary as the school, because I don't have children, and the one experience I've found is it's very much, if you have kids, this celebration for the arts is for you. If you don't have children, this is definitely not for you. You're not welcome. And it wasn't by nothing against the school people or anything of that experience. I've just found that personally. So if we remove the school angle as the main supplier and still include them in the whole experience, because we want the kids' art and all of that stuff to be shown. That's not my point. But if we take it into the center of the city, then we have more of a communal thing instead of it being at the school.
So like 4 years later, how many, 4 or 5 years later, that was the biggest sticky issue at that meeting was it was decreed from on high from the city's perspective that if this doesn't happen in businesses downtown. Right. Literally those words at that meeting. So, and then it was the school district people were all upset that it was
But we also, I mean, we've had this discussion. We had it pretty specifically about, and now that the park is there, the farmer's market, the park, we've got this entire, now we will have this entire downtown, arena where we could have it. And so I think ultimately after you have your conversation, it comes to who is doing the heaviest lift. Is it the school district? Is it the city? Or is it a combination? And if it's a combination, it just makes sense to centralize it. It just makes sense to centralize it.
In terms of a stage area, there's not going to be a stage. John Woods wanted a stage, and we're like, no, John, you can't have a stage. But there is.
What's he in that discussion?
He came to one of the park planning meetings, the one that the downtown businesses held, because he has his business in downtown. And that was his big thing. And everybody said, no, that's not what the park is for. It's not for your event. But where the library plaza is being redone, the library specifically wanted it designed in such a way so that they could do more outdoor events with kids, with story hours, with readings, with music, with whatever. And so when it's redesigned, not only will there'll be different steps, but also there will be an area that it will look kind of like a stage if you wanted to use it as a stage. It'll just be like 2 steps down, but a big plaza-like area with shade and all that kind of thing. So it's be right around the fountain. So there will be an area where you could conceivably put musical groups or even like the Royal Symphony Orchestra or whatever. So there will be space like that. Plus there's other areas in the park that are just, just the way the ground is going to be contoured. And where there's going to be seating areas under trees and that you could put, various activities. So there will be a lot of opportunities in the park for lots of different art events. It's a cool design. That's really a cool design.
Cool. So feasibility conversation, bring it back up next month or September? September. So hunt till September. Go team. RO makes art. Is that part of a subcommittee or is that what do you think?
It's a special initiative. Do we count that as do we have a subcommittee that does things like that? Or is it?
You can put it under outreach and engagement.
subcommittee. But
what's it take to administer that?
Well, I mean, more than what we're doing right now, because no one's seeing it at all.
So you wrote some things, some prompts.
Yes, and I have videos too, but they're only getting posted on the WROK residence page, so I know people are seeing it there, but that's about it. And I mean, we've had like 4 people participate. We've had 2 challenges and like 4 each time. So
we need to bump a boost.
So there's got to be. I mean, the ones on the 50 pages here are just like by us here. So I don't know. I think the idea is. I don't think it's something because that's what we're talking about.
It's a great idea.
Yes.
It just needs time to grow.
It does.
Maybe to engage the school and sending it out on our Friday e-blast as well.
Yeah. I mean, I sent it out personally as a teacher, like to all my kiddos before the program started, but Friday e-blast.
Good question. That's a good question. I don't know. I get something from them every Friday, but it might just be administrative.
Maybe I'll email her and just see.
I don't know if there's other ways for us to reach people. We'll try anything. I always put them on ours. Susan puts them on the Mission for the Arts right away. I share those to the city pages right away. We couldn't get that video though to come through. Right?
Yeah, I did post them on YouTube now, so I'm hoping maybe I can share links with you guys that way.
If you would do that, I could ask Richard to start playing them too. In the
That'd be
lobby.
a great idea.
Oh. Yeah, like send me those.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, I can get those to Richard, and yeah, he can play them on. Maybe you can put them on WROK for those and stuff like that. We'll do it over week now. Sure.
Cool. Yeah. So that one's kind of handling itself so far.
Yeah. I mean, we could shove it somewhere if we want to.
Yeah. The other thing is we do a little which we do.
Right.
The thorough just start.
Well, and then they kind of make you listen.
That one is fun. What I like about it, this one is some. Yeah, it's really fun.
What do we have left?
Summer concerts and pianos.
Do you like those programs?
So,
yeah.
I'm not the one. Are they sustainable?
Zero comments on either. But everybody else thinks.
I know, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the summer concerts, again, I see that as something we could potentially shift to the bigger park.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I love the little pocket feel of, where it is, but having it right in the middle of town, that's going to get more people seeing it, knowing about it, because it does get a little.
Who's in charge of that space?
The park across the street.
Who's going to be programming that park? Is it a parks department issue or is it?
Yeah.
And then who's allowed to use it when? And is it outside promoters throwing events there, or is it the farmers market gets it this weekend, or the library, or that summer concert series? Who's going to be in charge of that space? Because that's my concern is how do we get the days, and should we start now for next summer and those kinds of things, right? So
I will inquire and find out.
And then do we?
It seems to me that the Parks and Rec and Seniors Board would be involved in those policy decisions because they do that with the rest of the parks. Because there's 3 other pavilions. They set the rules for who can run the pavilion and how you apply and how much it costs and so on. So but they're involved in all those policy decisions. But it's got to be staff too, because the staff is going to be dealing with maintenance and who turns on the splash pad when and that kind of stuff.
It might also be not realistic next year, but the year after. And the reason I say that is with Normandy Oaks, there were some issues. Like you need the grass to seed in certain ways, so they may not want to do a ton of events right off the bat because we're opening in November, which is not grass growing.
Yeah. Yeah, the trees will be there and the bushes.
Yeah.
You're not going to have good grass by Halloween.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe next year it might be a little bit of a wait and see there, so we might kind of look at that. But I will certainly look and inquire as to what that.
Another part of that is you probably have to still fill out a special account permit too, so that's going to the police department and DPS and run it all the way through the city. That's how we.
So I'm saying, what I'm hearing from this discussion is we punt summer concerts indefinitely until somebody tells us something. Mm-hmm. Do I take that back to the DDA Consumer Marketing Committee because they're the ones that have been funded?
I would definitely take it back to them because you're going to get more feedback from them too. And, you know, and I wonder, let me offer this, even if the grass isn't established, maybe it's shutting down Troy Street. Maybe it is having it like we have it, but, you know, on center, where it's on the street, where we're not encouraging people at this point to go into.
Historically, Center Street worked because there was power in that.
Right, exactly.
There was storage for all the stuff.
I guess it's purely power.
We probably have signage for the summer concert somewhere, probably in that storage unit. There's logistical reasons at this point.
Yeah,
there wasn't even a park there when we started. We used to take the power off the poles. And then when they built the park, they built enough power to plug in some stuff. I bought like 800 extension cords for that. So there's some logistics discussions about where it happens and why.
My primary thought of that is simply, I know we wanted to grow it. We wanted to give the opportunity to grow. And we were sort of in a you know, closed canyon right there where we couldn't get 2,000 people if we wanted to. We were sort of stuck with 200. So that's why I bring it up.
No, I love it. So we could get more people in a different space, which is wonderful. We just need to figure out those logistical things. And then when does it happen or when does it come back? I know lots of other communities in Southeast Michigan are throwing things this summer. I mean, it quickly got back on the stick to make some things happen. And quite frankly, this is my personal feeling. It's not my feeling. We look a little pathetic at the moment in terms of the arts in this town, in that we haven't ramped things back up as quickly as other communities have. It's not enough. That's not any one particular person's fault. Yeah. It's just us in general. Being cautious. So,
well, and part of that may be that you're seeing it as inside baseball too, because you know, I don't know that a lot of people know, and I don't know that a lot of people are venturing back out to big events yet, especially now hearing that the Delta variant is coming around the globe. I think people are cautious. So, I mean, I know it's what you do every day, and you're in tune to it. I don't know that a lot of people are.
We'll leave it with city staff to do artistic support.
But I think we definitely want to bring it back.
I hear a lot of great comments from the public. It's one of the questions. Since I started managing your Facebook page a little bit more, that's probably like the number one question you get. It's like, I'm hearing that. So I think it's well loved by the community and folks want to see it come back. I think there's maybe what does that look like in the future, right? Do we need a bigger space for the same amount of people because people want to spread out a little bit more? Does, you know, all of those things kind of come into play. But I think there is some interest in the community certainly to have it, especially outdoors next year. But it's interesting with that.
There we go. All right. Public pianos. Do you like those?
Yes.
I think people really, really like them. I think more than anything else, though, Jason, it's a logistical issue. Yeah. You know, they get moving them back, moving them out. Yeah. You know, moving them if they get damaged. You know, it's a lot of heavy lifting, literally. Yeah. And you're the one that's been carrying the load on it. Again, literally. I don't know that any of us could do that. I'm not quite sure I could. So
unless we make it like a xylophone project.
Take
step. I like it.
So historically, we've had a moving company, one source of pianos, and a partner in that program. So they would do the initial the painting at their warehouse in Waterford, Old Lake, and then two, delivering them and then picking them up is what they've done in the past. Because some pianos lasted a little longer some years, James and I would borrow a truck from DPS and pick up some pianos with a lift gate on the back of the truck. And the two of us would muscle a piano or two into a truck. That has happened. both the summer concerts and the piano project have been my babies for all these years, only because in the beginning we had no projects and no programs. And I was like, well, I can help throw some concerts. And that's how that started. I think you would probably me. So it doesn't have to be me doing either of those projects. We don't have to do them. We don't have to do them again. Or, you know, it can be a subcommittee, or we can punt it to the staff to hire people to do them. Or I can start a company. How's that? I'm kidding. So if we want to do pianos again, we have some pianos already painted from years prior that are fine. What it takes to throw a piano project is moving company finding pianos for us, unless we want to accept piano donations at some warehouse somewhere, but there's way too many people that want it. If I accepted every piano that's been offered to me or the city, we would have 100 pianos sitting in this room right now. So,
any store from town.
Yeah. So, a bit of a space consideration, and two, where do we paint them, and then how do we do that in the future? I would have loved to done the painting in downtown in front of the places where they're going to end up happening and stuff like that. That takes some management, and that takes some things to happen on the street. It took, I don't know, in the past $1,000 or $1,200 in terms of money just to buy paint and then to hire a piano tuner, which is usually $600 or $700 to have them tune the pianos once or twice depending on the situation. And then they die a slow death, like you were saying about art before, on the streets, and then you have to throw them away, which in the past the moving company had taken them somewhere to dispose of.
So the movers did all the setting out and disposal.
Yeah. They were helpful, yes. Whether or not they're still interested in being a part of that, I haven't talked to them in a year and a half, so I don't know. Can you Indrop would still be excited about that or not? Probably. I mean, I'm sure they still get pianos and they probably wouldn't mind being a part of that. So, it's not a heavy lift, but it is a heavy lift. I think it's a simple project, but that's also fun for me. So if it was a project that we had to administer without me, if I died or moved out of town, I can't be a part of this committee. What do we still have it on the list? Sustainability. So do we still have it on the list if I'm dead?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You like pianos?
Yes. All right. So I think that kind of covers our programs for the year. What are some of the goals, like on some of these, on these goals, you guys had some steps. You had doing a survey for community and diverse groups and stakeholders that have never been reached out to, an annual strategic planning goal process, create programming to celebrate disciplinary arts. You guys kind of think about that. You had some outreach for youth events in the blind and deaf communities. You guys had some steps in here. So are there specific goals you guys want to meet before the end of 2021?
Make it to the end of 2021 alive. Insane.
I think the most realistic one on there is probably the sustainability piece, because really that just requires us to sit down and break down what does each of these events take and who are the contacts that we reach out to. I feel like that, I don't know, to me seems like the most realistic one for this year. I don't know.
Yeah. So I kind of see, so he's working on some of that. So yeah. As I've mentioned, I'm come from a kind of a background of doing a lot of program management and development, and that's part of program management and development is having those processes, a list of your contacts, and all those things in place. So that's something we're working on already, and is I think very achievable by the end of the year. For you guys to have something, definitely, obviously, good to review everything, make sure it's what you guys think, and kind of we're all on the same page. How are you guys thinking or feeling about some type of assessment of what the community wants to see in public arts?
As part of the survey process.
Yes.
Yeah.
that might help kind of you think about the next year's strategic planning.
So I think all of the things that are happening now, as well as ideas from the community, like all of that needs to be put in some sort of, like you were talking about, survey that assesses what are we artistically in town and how do we want to encourage and support arts and culture in the city of WROK. Do we like the ways we've been doing it in the past? We're at this sort of pivotal moment currently, right? And it's ever more so now than any other time in 10 years we've been doing this. 9.5 of information. January 2020. So honestly, some of these things could be informed by that conversation. We had 87 people respond to this survey. 86 of them hate the public pianos. Well, then maybe we should include the public pianos, right? So, so that should be part of that survey.
That's just that guy in the apartment building.
Right.
Some people just that one guy.
We have had some issues with the piano as well. Some people gluing the keys.
I read the article.
Yeah.
Which becomes performance art in and of itself. Seriously.
That's right.
Contemporary art.
One person really hates the piano.
Yeah.
So, you know, like even our discussion tonight about stuff we want to keep going or not still needs to be informed by that process, right? So, so today's discussion yields the things that we think we should keep going if the people that here would like to be a part of that and be champions of that. But all that does is inform you for writing this survey, right? So do we need to be a part of that survey or can you handle it?
So what I would say is I will write it, come back, and get you guys to speak up before we run it. One of the other goals I thought was very achievable, you guys had on here to investigate other cities with great art programs. That's something you guys are interested in.
But you want to level
That's okay. It's I'm a big fan of back bar and steel. So if another community sees what we're doing and loves it, great. And that's part of where my program management comes from. I want to have a one sheet paper with our programs so that when they come and they say, I love your art support program, I'm like, great, here's the history, here's how we fund it, here's our evaluation of it, have fun. Right? It's so
and
about sharing
feedback so that we can grow out.
And so I love the idea that to me means we're doing a good job.
They already own public
I think there's some great.
We have a name for that company you're looking for.
No, honestly, I do all that domain name only because like I would love that I did that in memory of my dad. I didn't start it. So all right, so we have some programs we're currently doing, we have intention to keep doing. Also going to go down this path of developing a survey. Do you think timing-wise that's something that can happen by next month's meeting and we're doing that this fall or?
I think it's very feasible to do it this fall. Probably what we're looking at, so timing-wise for just agenda topics, we've kind of covered a lot. So for next month, probably get you guys a draft of a survey. And maybe we can look at doing a broader community engagement plan. So I'm also a big public engagement and participation fan. And so we can look at building in some different data collection points for that and how to do that. So we can probably have the survey, a survey plan, and then we had talked about one other item is coming back with the Artist Laureate. So that probably would be our August, September celebration of arts. Maybe the sculpture garden at that point would come back. So we probably are doing okay for timing wise on workflow. Probably managing programs that you guys are operating because we're going to be sharing the work too. Probably these things are probably what we're looking at for the fall. Through the end of the year.
Hey Denise.
Does that sound reasonable?
I just had a thought. Oh, is there anything on the top of your mind that needs to happen for sharing the warmth this fall?
We have to maybe find a new location.
Okay. And then in terms of operating it, is there anything that we need to think of between now and October?
No. I still have a good stash of yarn to get donated to knitters, and I have a good supply of donated items that will kick it off.
Gotcha. But what I'm hearing is people donate yarn, and people knit in the community. How do we engage those knitters?
It's been mostly word of mouth. We have a Facebook page, but getting people to that page. When they wrote the article last year, we had an influx of people joining that page and donations. So I think the more we get the word out.
I only ask that question, not necessarily for everybody here, except for our new staff, so that they understand that process. So at some point, there's going to be a communication piece that needs to go out about that. When were people knitting those things now?
Some people are. People have come by my house to pick up yarn to start their stashes going.
So I guess what I'm hearing right now is it says July 19th on the calendar, but people are knitting for sharing the warmth now. And it might be, if we're going to talk about our project, like in our community stuff, our hashtag RO makes art, is one of them a knitting prompt?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
So maybe we sort of start to propagate the sharing the warmth project in the near future.
Sit there and knit.
Knitting in the concept. Thank you, Denise. So we'll figure out how to keep that moving.
Yeah, location is critical though, right? We've got to find a location for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw a bunch of railings down the front of the new city hall. Yeah. Maybe we do. It's a really long railing. Actually,
it is really long.
Yeah. Let me just say it gets a little seedy looking at certain times of the year. I'm not sure you want that at the entrance to the new city hall. Let me just leave it at that.
It's not going to be right where the library doors are. So it's either going to be sloped with dirt or cement, or there's going to be stuff. So we might end up with a rail in the back of the library.
We can look at some options to it because sometimes railings get ADA compliance issues pretty quickly. But we can definitely look at some locations and see what display options might fit our quantity and needs for ADA and everything else. But I think we can find some good spots.
Yeah, we have to think about maintenance because like I said, the covering, the items stay good, but the covering itself can get kind of beat up.
It's funny that in our July meeting we just discussed we need to work on the one. But honestly, like, what is it, Christmas in July? Is that the thing?
There you go.
There's our community engagement. Like, just donate some stuff and then start getting right? I mean, I don't know. So we talked about all these programs, goals. Should we move to local contribution? Yeah.
Oh, Peter. My name's Peter. I'll be working with you guys as the fellow, Royal fellow. So like, I spent a little bit of time gathering or going through our files online and walking around town and getting information about what kind of art, what the shape of art is in, and I took some pictures and I put it all into a better organization within our files. So I have a list over here of what's actively up up on the walls, but also, and most of it's active. There's only 2 out of 9 that for our Art Explored exhibit, that are either damaged or removed. Pulling Your Weight was I have a picture right here. It was a framed paper image of some sort, and it's in the, it's in a memo. Yeah, it's been damaged. So like we gotta take it. Yeah, so we gotta make a decision on what to do with that. And that's over on 4th and right where the PNC Bank used to be. On the back side there.
On the south. No, I'm on the wrong block.
There's space.
I'm on a different block.
Yeah, it's facing south.
Yeah.
The new,
Everybody.
Yeah.
So a lot of the pieces have fallen out of license. This is kind of our double tapping an agenda item here. But we need a decision on whether or not you guys would like to relicense the pieces or remove them, or temporarily relicense some pieces. Maybe you want to relicense half and not the other half. So it doesn't like just remove all of the art at once. Maybe you want to do a 6-month relicense. And then, so we do need that decision because we need to start. You guys have already relicensed one.
Do we have a list of what needs?
So
You also,
we have a list right here of all of them need to be relicensed.
Okay.
All of them either need to be relicensed or you have to. So there's a list of 9 exhibits. The only one that you probably don't want to, where the only 2 is one that's removed and the other one that's damaged.
Yes, Jim. I was just going to point out where it used to be used in shades and those stuff covered in the leaves.
Those are really popular works. Yeah, definitely.
So there's a bit of thought that needs to go into any of this, right? So is the space that it was in before still a good space to have it? Relicensing requires the approval of the property owner, is that correct?
So what we would, if you guys wanted to relicense, what we would do is reach out to the artist and the property owner, make sure everyone is still on board with relicensing. And then we would probably similarly to the piece you guys have already relicensed, bring each piece individually here for you guys to approve. And then it would need to go to City Commission for approval. And you guys, it does have an approval process.
So let me ask you this, like, do we, the first question to answer is, do we want them still here? That's the first question. So, and then if we do want them here, is it worth money for them to be here? Or does the artist just like, I'll leave it up, like whatever, like I don't know. I don't know what that is. So I'm asking the questions.
Yeah, is that associated? Is there an expectation of another licensing fee?
Yes, or that would be my assumption, is that if we are relicensing, you're paying another licensing fee.
And then
there's precedence since we did that. Right. So then that also influences whether we want some things to remain, things that maybe we're a little wishy-washy about. Do we want to pay again for them before? And are we talking another year and a half? Do we know?
So that's part of the question. So I think typically with Art Explored, it looks like right now, normally I think you guys install in July 1st through June 30th. So realistically, like right now, we would be looking, you could say, okay, we're going to advertise through the fall for these locations. And then we're going to run it maybe like April 1st or May 1st. So you're kind of switching up your cycle. So we could do a short-term license that wouldn't be another year. We would prorate them out and be able to so it's not like all the art just disappears, because it's like also not how you're not. So that might help give you some flexibility, but it really is up to you.
So, I mean, effectively, all of it hinges on the artists themselves, right? If you still have your art for another 9 months, we'd like to offer you $450.
Yes. Or do they want to try some?
Yeah, it's $50 a month. I guess that's, I just did the math. It's weird. So, and then that gets us, it gives the subcommittee the ability to buy some time to have some artwork until we have new artwork.
Yep. And you guys could say, if you wanted to say, no, do the whole year or the next 11 months, we could do that. And then you guys would keep your current cycle intact.
So they overlap. And
so you'd have a little bit more overlap. But I wasn't sure how you all would like to.
The other problem that could be with that is some of our prime locations might not be available.
What are our thoughts?
I think do all of them with two. That should be the damage one month. And I think we do it for 9 months. I think we
until the next year.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we're just gonna,
I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think that's. I can motion it.
Are you in agreement with that? Yeah. Cool. So I'll take that as a motion.
Yeah, sure. A motion.
And I'll take that as support. Okay. So we have a motion on the table to relicense artwork for 9 months for 7 pieces. Is that what it is? No, it'd be 1, 2, 3.
No, it would be 7.
So that they can exist for a while, buys us some time, and then we can sort of reinvigorate that program. Any other comments before we keep moving? All right, so I'll call for the vote. Denise.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Thank you. Julie. Melissa. Pat. Alicia. So moved. Look at that.
we will start reaching out to artists and probably next few months. And we'll let you know as well if any have elected not to relicense or the property
So effectively next month we might have a conversation about 7 pieces of artwork.
Right. I'll try not to give you all 7 at once. Unless you guys are like, really, we don't care.
Right. So the potential also comes up that artists may not want it back at this point because we've had it for what, a year and a half.
I mean, that's right.
And so they may donate it.
They may just donate it.
Push it right into our permanent collection.
So, I mean, effectively giving them a few options. Donate it to the city, like ask for it back. Or take another.
And if you position it to them as this could become part of the city's permanent collection, they might want to donate it to have a their art permanently with the city.
So, and yes, in that case, we would still bring back. One of the things we need to figure out is the purchase agreement. Sometimes these types of transactions can get challenging because people have expectations about where and how long you're going to display my art for and things like that. And so we would still come up with a purchase agreement and run it through similarly to a relicense. We would bring it back to you guys and take it to the commission.
One of the things that had been talked about in the past when we were talking about damaged pieces was the accession process.
Yes.
So in talking about that permanent collection piece, I think that is,
you do have a deaccessioning policy. It's quite interesting, actually. So you guys have the power to deaccession a piece, as well as the city manager and DPS director can do it in emergencies. So you have a piece that's about to fall over. You don't want to wait until next month's meeting. We just like to get that part addressed. So.
But the other side of that point is if we were deaccessioning a piece that had that.
Yes.
The Starbucks fountain.
I think we're stuck with that one. Here we were going. Yes.
I'm just saying, like,
yep.
The
close to Barbara Hallman, who's listening to you.
I'm not saying we're selling it. No, what I'm saying. Yes. What I'm saying is, if that came up 50 years from now, is there a policy or procedure? Cool. So we just determined that that's not.
Yes.
Other thoughts from you, Peter? That issue.
So as a little bit of a follow-up, you guys will start to see Peter a little bit more. We have two fellows that are with us. So Rachel is the other fellow. We kind of took some initial arts projects and divvied them up. So he's working on the inventory. She's actually going to be the one who puts together a map, and then somewhere in this process, we're going to get sort of that, at least a digital guidebook of the art kind of figured out too. So they'll be helping. So you may see them both come in for presentations. I know I had Peter do a formal memo for you guys. That's part of them being fellows and learning and growing in their own skills. So I don't think you guys have had that formal memo process all the time at this level. So bear with us. It's a part of the learning and growth and something that they need for their career. So we're giving them some opportunities to do that practice with you all. So, okay.
You should say that.
I'll say it out loud. I respectfully submit that.
Cool. So that takes care of 7B, correct?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Unfinished business. Location of Beaumont Art Piece.
Yes, you did add two other pieces.
Oh,
so
sorry.
we have Carol's and
Finding all the artists.
We'll start with Kat.
Okay. This grew out of an article that was in the paper over the weekend. The city of Detroit, through the WROK Conservancy, which is one of the organizations that grew out of the deaccessioning of Mary Grove College when the college was closed. The city is trying to figure out where all of the artists are in their community so that when grants and other programs become available, or their city programs, they can reach out to them, whether it's musicians or writers or painters or sculptors or whatever. So through the Conservancy, they are doing a survey, and they actually have a website set up for that purpose. I haven't looked at it yet. I tried pulling it up and it didn't connect, so I'm not sure it's accurate in paper. But anyway, that's what they're doing. When I saw this, I thought, you know, the city of Royal Oak is getting $28 million from the federal government out of the art fund, $14 million this year, $14 million next year. There are some organizations that have reached out to me, arts organizations, that have said, look, we haven't been able to perform for a year. We're struggling. We don't have a whole lot of income because mostly we're volunteers, but there have been other CARES Act monies that have gone to arts organizations, like Oakland County had a program for giving out grants to arts organizations with the initial CARES Act. The Royal Oak Symphony got $10,000 from them. We never expected that much, but we did. And they're saying, if you have this part of money that is supposed to benefit people who've been struggling, can you at least allocate a little tiny bit to the arts organizations in the community that could use some assistance? And it's not only performance people like the symphony or Waterworks Theater, but also sculptors and potters who haven't been able to go to art shows this year and sell their works. And that's their primary source of income, and they lost it this year. And so I thought perhaps we could combine what the city of Detroit is doing, which is pulling together just a survey of what artists they have, with our program, which we're going to be putting together in terms of deciding how we're going to spend the $14 million. So it just seemed to me that logically, because we are all connected to so many artists in the community, it would fall, I think, at least in part to our commission to develop that process for finding where they all are, or at least trying to find out where they all are. I know there's a lot of them out there that are all different types of artists. And if a grant program is going to be available to them, at least knowing where they all are and how to reach out to them might be a good thing. And I think maybe we're the group to do that, or at least get involved in that.
Do you think that should be combined with this other survey?
I think, yeah, I think it could be. I think there's no reason that would be a good starting point. We may not catch everyone, especially if the survey is only targeted to certain individuals, like just a percentage of so many people. But at least it would be a starting point. And then with other outreach like Facebook and through other organizations, we could add to that. But yeah, I think certainly it could be a component of that.
Only the question, I guess, so survey of the community, and then also asking for their contact information as an artist in our community. How does that work?
And so you have a couple of, so in my brain, these are working as two separate things. So you have a survey to the community about what are you interested in seeing, what kinds of art do you like, what mediums do you like, and you can ask, I think it's always good to ask for their contact, make it optional, partly also because then we can do outreach about our events and programs. But I think what you're talking about is a more focused effort on the artist, not necessarily the community as a whole. It's a network analysis, and I think it's actually a really great idea because also it helps us because when we're ready to do Art Explored, now we can say, here's our subset of artists who do all these different types of art. How do we get them engaged in Art Explored, right? So it's helping us recruit as well. So that's another piece, and there's some pieces of that in some of the files, and sort of as you guys have gone, that's sort of that virtual Rolodex that has cropped up. But I don't know how updated it is. I don't know what falls within WROK and what isn't. And it seems more like a lot of kind of organizations that might help us advertise, but not the artists themselves. And both of those pieces, I think, are pretty helpful. So I think it is certainly a valuable way to go in for ourselves too, not just for the art funds, but
and I think just having that database would be useful. And it could be useful for the celebration of the arts if you're looking for musical performance form or whatever else. And who knows what programs we might develop later.
So does that effort need only Royal Oakers, or is that a regional effort of getting artists in a list of people?
Well, it would be, I don't know. I mean, you could broaden that beyond Royal Oak.
I only ask that because there's so many people that are a part of things in our community that aren't from here, and then there's a bunch of people that are from here that are a part of our community too. So I can just see it spider webbing the network a lot. And so how do you control that?
We're looking for, I'm sorry, we're looking for people to help allocate grant money towards that are related to Royal Oak grant monies, and when we need Royal Oakers, if we're trying to help allocate, if we're trying to help organize people for that, for our greater list of bands and artists and painters and all of those things in the whole entire area, I think it's valuable, but I don't know, when we were talking about it before, trying to figure out how to allocate money for artists before, we were talking very specifically about it impacting only our people because we were worried about the people in the local network learning.
Yeah, it depends, I think, on the grant guidelines. Like in terms of the art funds, I mean, are they still working on the federal regulations as to how you can spend that money? Last time we talked to Paul about it, he's like, they haven't finished yet. And Guidehouse, I know, is supposed to be on top of it, but
it's not my area of expertise. I'll say that.
Yeah, I don't think that they're necessarily, I mean, we're all supposed to be figuring out how to spend it, but I'm not so sure that the federal government has given us the guidelines yet. But it may very well be that, there's going to be those are going to be the restrictions. But that's just that pocket of money. Other grants, it's going to depend on whatever guidelines they put in the grant. So,
well, starting a conversation, and then, is it county? Is it regional? I mean, how do we potentially
you can build it in a way that helps narrow down, because you can create it to say, I live in Royal Oak, I'm an artist, my studio space is in Royal Oak, I normally would attend the art fairs in Royal. And so you can kind of tailor it in a way, so because that also helps us tailor, right? Like if you're, living over in Grand Rapids, but you only come in for the art show, you're really interested in this, so we might be able to get some tailoring that way, but I think it's doable to tailor it.
Yeah, yeah. There's going to be some ones that are mock. I'm thinking, for example, of Shar Douglas's husband is a musician. He plays the bass clarinet, and his primary income is playing for various venues. When Meadowbrook is having a musical, he'll be in the orchestra, or he'll play for occasionally when the Royal Oak Symphony needs someone, and he'll get stipends. But his performances are all over the metro area. I think he goes as far as Ann Arbor sometimes. So he lives in Royal Oak, but all of his income comes from various other communities. That's more than just Royal Oak. That's how you make your living.
I don't make any money. I work besides Jason, thank you.
Yeah, so does he?
You say your rent, your tax base is in Royal Oak, so it wouldn't benefit the city to reinvest in a resident.
Right. So, but would it qualify for guidelines? It's a tricky one.
Yeah, I think I know one of the things like I've heard say is specifically, it usually mentions art, but how do you kind of dovetail in some of these programs so that not every level is creating art, things to help artists, but how do you kind of help channel and communication and fun, hey, we're not doing this, or that you don't quite meet ours, but maybe you meet this one, to help build those bridges and fund through those gaps a little bit.
All I know is up until last year's pandemic, artists in our country were never acknowledged as actual human beings in terms of the IRS or any programs. Nothing helped us, like other than, there's this national endowment.
We used to be able to write some stuff off.
Only the big boys got all the money that day. At least we got unemployment last year, so I'm like, all right,
yeah.
For the artists of the world.
No. Some of us are still fighting to get that chase. Some of us.
Those of us in the trenches. It's great that there's movement for that kind of stuff. So, what do we think our next step for this needs to be? Is it part of that survey process, or a separate survey?
That's a great question. I get where you're going, and I think there's consensus with the group that that's something you'd like to explore. I didn't read the article, so I probably want to dig in a little more and see what it looks like, and maybe I can reach out to their staff and see a little bit more, but we can certainly come back with a plan.
I mean, it certainly doesn't have to be decided. I think it's something that's worth doing. Just to handle it.
It gives also resources too, like for instance, we're planning events. Or we're planning events. When we say we want to do this component of our event, and we want to have an art component, who can we get to do it? Well, now we can say, we have a musician right in the city who can help us with this, or we have a caricature artist in the city, or we have a sculptor in the city. I find there's going to be a lot of value in knowing where those people are, because I'd rather, if we're going to give a stipend, or just that we're going to have this opportunity to give exposure to the artists in the community and an event, that it's a Royal Oak artist. That it always means more when it's somebody from Royal Oak that we're helping, and that we're highlighting in our event. So it's really excellent. I can see a lot of applications for it and opportunities. Like you say, you make no money for the city alone. Yes, we can. I'm not. Yeah, no.
I also think that everything that you're talking about, from the grants to the visibility, I think coming out of the pandemic, people are so hungry for art that I think that should be part of the survey. Do you appreciate it more, now coming out of the pandemic? I think people really need all the different kinds of art. So I think that's going to help us. We can't hear you anymore.
Sorry.
We'll follow up next month or the month after with that one.
Carol.
All right, well, I am not an event planner, but I'm planning an event with farmers. Just go back to my former boss who constantly told Judy Davidson and I that we are not event planners. He would throw us in the event plan. So the farmers market was approached to do this 3-concert series. And because there wasn't a summer concert, they said, hey, why not? You know, it's something we can do. They're looking to have more events. And so they're doing 3 concerts on Friday nights, and it's being called the Sights and Sounds. And it's really quite an interesting component because there'll be food trucks, there'll be live music, there'll be an actual kids center with activities for children, music for children. So there's lots of opportunities at this. And what I wanted to ask this group for 2 things. One is that we've been offered to have tables at the events so that we can put some of our city groups on showcase. And you're talking about how to promote sharing the wealth. Well, if we could have at least 2 members of the Commission for the Arts at each of these to be at the table, like maybe at the August 27th. So the dates are August 27th, September 10th, and September 24th. And they're all Friday evenings. And so maybe we can do like August 27th, we can promote the Royal Oak Makes Art because we'll still have a couple of challenge weeks. And we can, maybe if we're starting out slow, maybe that's an exposure where we can ramp it up. A couple other things that you were working on, like with the art collections, maybe we can gather pictures of the art that's in Royal Oak and have that displayed on the table and say, did you know at 4th and Main you can see this? Or did you know this is by this Royal Oak artist? So we can just do like various things like that at the tables those 3 evenings to bring exposure to the Commission for the Arts and what you are putting in the community, because I think sometimes it is very much overlooked. All those panels are cool. You know how many times I hear somebody playing the piano at the farmer's market? Lots, like 3 or 4 times a week. How about you have some pictures of those songs? Who put those communities in the program? The Commission for the Arts put those in the community. So it's a really great opportunity for a few hours for you guys to have a table and really highlight what you do in the city. And then the other thing I wanted to ask of you, September 10th through September 19th is Welcoming Cities Week. And I was appointed the Welcoming Cities liaison for the city of Royal Oak a while ago, and I've not really ever been able to really fully explore doing a lot with them. And this is going to be a kickoff. We'll have Royal Oak designate that week as Welcoming Cities. And this year, the theme, which is around the world, Welcoming Cities is a worldwide event. The theme is Belonging Begins With Us. And that one is September 10th. And I think that might be a beautiful time to promote your sharing the wealth or warmth. And maybe we can have some yarn there. We can gather names of people who want to knit. We can gather awareness and get you some more donations, be they yarn or monetary. And we can start promoting that on that day as we get into the cooling down. The other thing I would like to do, and we've done 2 of these already, I'd like to do a community art mural. There's a large wall in the farmer's market that Robin and Shelley both said, oh, that would be a beautiful place for a mural. And to celebrate diversity, we do have the artist who's doing the mural on the credit union at VIA. Olivia. And that young lady is Latino. So she has a diverse immigrant background. And if you remember correctly, her real focus of study is botanicals and earth. And I would like to ask her to create the canvas, to create the drawing. And if you have not ever participated in one of our community art events, the last one we did was at Family Pride. And so everybody could paint a little section on it. Then they sign the back of the canvas. And then when the evening's completed, the artist then takes the work and finishes it by outlining and shadowing and putting those beautiful finishing touches that only an artist can. But it's the whole community making the project together. And so what could be more in line with this group than that? And then it's giving back to the farmers market who, you know, in this year of the 100th birthday of the city is being designated as historic. So there's so many amazing tie-ins to Welcoming Week, to art, and to the belonging begins with us. And this group is that us for sure. Art belongs to Royal Oak because this group makes it belong to Royal Oak. And so I would love your support on the 3 days doing the table. And I would love your support for doing the community mural. And I would probably think it would be a really fun idea to have you guys work with the artists that evening and help people go up and take their paintbrushes and help them paint and everything. I got to tell you, it was a really, really popular event. It was really fun, and it is fun to say, oh, I did that orange at all. And so I like your permission to approach that artist, and I might come back and ask for some financial support for that artist to do that mural.
So you need bodies at a table? Mm-hmm. So those bodies need to do anything to prep for that? Is there?
No, you can just show up and just talk about what do you guys want to talk about.
Okay. So bodies at a table on 3 Fridays, August 27th, September 10th, and the 24th. Right. So that's the first question. And then the second question is, would we be in support of a mural? Possibly financial.
Right.
In what type of financial?
I will have more details for you next.
Gotcha. So that's on the table. Do we have bodies that can be at that farmer's market on those 3 days?
I mean, you don't have to tell me, and I can send out an email so you can check your calendars.
I was going to say, maybe Carol, if I'm going to send out an email,
yeah.
You know, I don't think it has to be the same people
right.
at each event.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Like, YouTube take 2 and YouTube, like everybody can kind of pair up and rotate. So it's not always, everyone's really committing to one Friday night.
Yeah,
I mean,
not 3,
unless
you want to. Yeah, but it's a great way to get your faces and your, you know, your faces out in the community and your programs out to the community. Awareness.
I've already been approached by Robin to possibly be involved in 3 Fridays, but I also already have performances those 3 Fridays. It's like fun, and potentially a new job. So,
and I'm sitting at a table for the Royal Oak Symphony at
yes.
the same thing
yeah.
on August 27th. So
okay, so we got Pat September 10th, 24th.
yeah.
Is the
Representative Ellison?
Just tell me where to go.
Yeah, I
know. Is the August 27th?
No, September 10th is the, August 27th.
No, neither of those are art pieces.
No, art pieces and pieces one in
Art
between.
pieces like September 2nd, 3rd.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's Labor Day, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? Like, do we need to vote on that, or do we?
Well, I have a couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I love the mural idea. Which wall in front? So, it is in the northwest corner. They have a storage room that they built. Okay. So it's like just across from the office, and they're redoing the walls in the farmers market. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. if you go up by the on the north wall, they've done the little area where the kitchen is. They've done those walls already, and then they did do that wall already, so it would be good. It wouldn't have to wait. It could go up, but it's an expansive wall, you know, and it's right now it's just like that,
right,
dull grayish kind of, and so to have a mural with, you know, something botanical, like all the produce and the flowers are really vibrant.
and
Created by the community.
Yes, the one with the marquee and the car. And
right.
But it was botanicals down in the lower.
And yeah, and if you read her bio, that's what she really specializes in studies. So I thought that was kind of a really good match. Not because we don't really have enough time to like put out applications and everything. I can certainly ask that. I mean,
I guess I just don't.
Yeah.
Realistically, like as a, because I would love to support it, but I guess I don't know if it'd be for a mural to be inside of a business.
Well, it's a city facility, and then obviously, you know, we would want to have a plaque created that said that you guys donated it, that you provided for it. So I'd rather have the commission for the arts rather than some corporate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's me.
Okay. So I think first step is Carol is going to send out the dates, and if we have folks that are there, then we can pursue the mural.
And I'll get your money. I'll get you.
And we lost Denise. I don't know if she.
Oh no. She fell asleep or.
It's so late in the morning for Laura.
Oh, yeah, Laura should be
thank you, Carol. Somehow we're addressing this. You have that name?
Yeah, we've got it.
Okay. I'm going to keep us moving to location of Beaumont art piece. Does that need to be addressed tonight?
You guys wanted to delay, so.
I mean, it's still
in progress.
Great. Yeah.
Cool. So we're hunting on the Beaumont art piece, and then all of the subcommittee stuff is all stuff we've already talked about, right? With that, yes.
Next meeting. So for the next meeting, you guys are currently scheduled for August 16th, right? This is the third Monday. So August 16th, your packet should come out on August 9th with any backup materials and the minutes and everything like that. Do you guys want, so we're kind of coming at this point, and I don't know, Commissioner, you want to weigh in, where we're working towards being back in person, but we may have the option to go a little longer in hybrid mode. How are folks feeling about in person, not in person? What do you want to see?
I don't mind being here for August, but I understand.
Okay.
That is the way I feel about it too, and I don't mind that kind of broken wall. Some people may say.
I personally don't like having to manage it this way or be on the other end of this because it was awkward last month.
I think it's hard, and I think the experience is probably different for Laura and Denise tonight.
Yeah, Denise just emailed, so she can't get back in. She got kicked out.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Tell her to go on the public and it'll put her, but we're almost finished.
Yeah.
Put her in the audience.
Okay. So are people, sounds like you guys are more interested in coming back? You guys okay with that?
Are you okay with it?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm ready.
I promised my students that I only act.
Me too. So we will plan for an in-person only. We will make sure the reflect that. That's all I have.
Brings us to number 10, adjournment. So moved by Jody. Any support? I want to point to Laura. Any support to adjourn? There's a late.
Yes. Yes.
With that, I'll call for the vote. Laura says yes.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
So just so you know, Jason, I just wanted to contemplate that one.